with the praise. Lama tompa chomden de dejin shekpa ja chompa yan dakpa zope sange ripa dang shapsu tempa dewa shepa jiten kempa Gebo duwe kalo nyua lana mepa ladang minam kitomba sange chomdende belgyawa shakya tupala chaksalo Jodo kyapsu chi o lama tomba jomden de dejin jegba ja chomba yanda ba zobe sange riba dang japsu demba dewa sheba jinen gemba gebo duwe kalo gyua lana meba lada minam gitomba Sange chomdende belgyawa shakya tupala chaksalo chodo gyapsu chi Lama tomba chomdende dejin jekba ja chomba yandaba sobe sange riba dang japsu demba dewa shepa jikden gemba kebo duwe kalo gyuwa lana meba Ladang minam kitomba sange chomdende balgyawa shakya tupala chaksalo chodo kyapsu chi wo gangse gangni so kyotamse Tendila gomba dumbone nani jitendina jojesung deshe gepangyola jaksalo nanda gunga jotu zuzangwa yeshe gato segi lumboja drapa jiten sumna lamewa gombo jugne gyola jaksalo senjo demba dreame daweje Sedo jawa kyola chaksalo doja gyoja siva sumachi Nyame kenje kyola chaksalo gompo tukche chedemba damje kembe tomba po sonam yonten gyato jing dejin jekla chaksalo dakpe doja jawa gyu gewa naso ledro jing Jito danda jogyoba, jigyo chola jaksalo, drolna drowe lamyang dron, labe dala raptune, jingi dambe yondenden, gendun layang jaksalo, digba chiyang mi jajing, gewa ponzom jokpache, rangi semni yong sodo, Nini sange dembayin kama ravi mamedang gyuma silpa chubodang milam lodan tinjabu duje chomnan didata sonam di tamje zipayi gopang tonen ngongin jatode gedan nadang jiwe la chube Sibe jola jowa jowa jo Masam jome sheva baro chim Mage miga namge ngawani Sasarangi yeshe choyowa Dosam yawa yumla chaksalo Dayata gate gate para sam gate bodhi swaha. In the long mandala offering. Yawa gyabda doje chang chembo dang wo ye ma chi pa. Yongzok tembeng adak dongi ledun shenne mote jetsun lama lozang tobang doje chang chenpo Yam jese kon Tsenshap Serkong tenzin top ten awang lop sang Rinpoche pe sang bajengane. Tek ba chemba sung cho za mo leg ba jo e yondu jing kam bo a jo. Om benza bumi aong wang sen tegi sa ji. Om benza reke aong Chi chagre koyoge koe oso ring yal pori ram chalok bakbo lo zamboling no balang jang jaminyan lo dan lo bang nayab zen Yondan dam lam jo jaminyan dan jaminyan gida Rinpoche rilwa bak samgi shing dojo ba mama bai lo dong golo Rinpoche nobo Rinpoche Somo Rinpoche lombo Rinpoche Langko Rinpoche Dacho Rinpoche Makmo Rinpoche Teche boyo bomba, geg ma, cheng ma, lu ma, ga ma, metok ma, duk ba ma, nang sel ma, drin ma, ni ma, jawa, rinpoche duk, chola namba gala gelsen, Osaladang mi beljo punsum soka masang wamepa sang jing ido wang wam dida jin chen sawa dang yu par chepe belden lama damba namdang kepa duyang yonzok tempe ngado dongi lesu jene mote jetsun lama losang dobwang doje chang chenpo Gyabje sekon Tsenshap tenzin top ten awan lobdang rinpoche Belzeng bojeng ane Deba jemba sungjo zamo legba zue yondu jinkamo agiwa Tugde drowe dondu zeshu so Pene kyang dakso jowa magyun namke tadang nempe semchen tamche la tuksewa chemba gone jingila toso. O sajiboki. Jokshi Tokja Vira Ling Jing Bandi Tang Ye Jing Du Ni Oh Ai Oh Na Na Jing
Zangi Jodan Soye Shonamda Shanjo Bando Dani Yas Gebe Sonamji Dona Benje Sanje Rubha Sho Sage Shodan Soye Shaju Pardon Dani Yapsun Chen Daye Jimson Gebe Sonamji Dona Benje Sanje Sage Shodan Soye Shonamda Shanjo Bando Dani Yapsun Chen Daye Jimson Dalai Lama Sanje Deva Sho Doni Ninja Sunu Zubedam Chiji Sense Kanjin Tendragon Shana Bemo Tenzin Yazo La Soan De Roshi Tenrun Ro Tanja Surang Kun Lang Tabi Min Kesan Tabran Rube Jung Sho Zebe Gyube Tapian Zeba Senze Shinin Kue La Sha Zendo So thank you everyone. Jennifer, how you chant? Very professional. Looks like she knows what she's doing. Yeah, because in my monastery, in Spiti, we have the chanting master. He's not really knows that he's really into this. So every time he does, there's something like, you shouldn't do this way. So you hear like completely something that really I admire. Okay. First of all, I'm happy to be here in the Shantideva Center. Just hearing the name of Shantideva, that gives so much kind of ease to the mind, because I'm saying this not because of like I'm a die-hard fan of Shantideva only, because time to time, repeatedly, that His Holiness Dalai Lama mentions this great master's name again and again, again and again. And also many of my teachers, they always comes with kind of quotations from this incredible master. So somehow to having the name of his in this place is such a inspiring. So I'm super happy to hear. Feels like Shantideva's home. Yeah, so I think last year, isn't that? It's the you came to see me last year? 2018. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Yeah, 2018, Sneh and Anchana, Sean, when they, oh yeah, that's the Sean. And then they came to see me and requested me to come and teach in Shantideva. I ultimately, when I hear the name of Shantideva's center, then I just focus on Shantideva. And then I kind of with the respected, and I folded and I said, okay. So deep inside, I'm not picturing New York in the busy area and this center, but I was just thinking like, wow, that sounds great. So here I am. And the most beautiful thing is to meet the members of the Shantideva, and then also the people who came to listen to the Shantideva's teaching. So that's great. I need to take a little time to think because my English is not that good. It sounds okay, but then no guarantee. So when I speak in more like a Dharma terminology and so on, and then somehow for myself, I feel like I know what I'm saying, but I may confuse other people with my language. So I need to be very aware of this. So I'm happy to have a like emergency backup. The Kelela. So when I finish the giving a short course and then teaching at a land of medicine in California, and then I just checked the schedule in the Shantideva Center. Then I saw chapter 9. I just like, what? And then I just felt like, well, I can't do this alone. I need someone to help me with my English and to translate. So then I came to know that from the center that they have requested Galagla to come and help me. So Galagla, thank you for accepting the request. And I came to know that Galagla is also a student of Kyongla Radha Rinpoche, who is also my teacher. So I guess it's a teamwork. And so now for a few days, you are going to see my face and going to listen what I'm going to say in like almost 6 days. How long? It's 6 days. Okay. So to be honest, I'm not that qualified fit teacher. And when Sneh prays a lot, I know Sneh has to say something like this. Yes, yes. And then I try to be kind, but my kind has some limit, and my compassion has some limit. Everything is very limited. Then the greatest thing that I could describe myself is I am a person that spent quite a long time with the teachings of His Holiness, and then also with some of my kind teachers, which even though I cannot practice very seriously, But then time to time I have some kind of I don't know, merit or karmic connection to hear these great beings teachings again and again, again and again, again and again. So this kind of whether you wanted to say the quality that I have or something that I can I don't know, to act like them, to speak like them, it's a great honor. So like in the Tibetan we have saying, if you say Om Mani Padme Hum to a parrot, so one day the parrot can say kind of a similar way. That's one kind of my practice. But little difference than parrot is I have the motivation. And my motivation, I told this land of medicine Buddha when I started giving a teaching there. I said, when my plane took off from Delhi, and I set the motivation, I'm going there to America, not to see New York or to enjoy the rest of the people they come here, and maybe enjoy the food for sure. But then most important, try to repay my teacher's kindness, and to when I meet people like you, then it gives me a special kind of inspiration to reflect on how kind my teacher has been to me, and then I can talk with some kind of my own feeling that sometimes it connects more. So I'm saying this because there are two ways of running that up to now I found. I did a little research because I was a student before, I just studying, and to get good marks in the class, I did that. So then after that, after examination, after my, I did kind of a finish classes and so on, whatever I studied, that doesn't help much to practice. But when I start giving kind of talks and teachings or classes, then how I study, how I prepare myself to give teachings to others, that is something else. That really helps because I will be staying like this and give you a teaching or talk. And then two things. First, whatever I'm going to say, it has to make sense to me. And sometimes I will speak like a parrot, like whatever my teacher said, and then I repeat it. And I know that doesn't make sense to other people. Then I feel so empty, hollow down there. And then sometimes when I can connect, I feel like that's so good. I should do this again and again. So then it is a little bit of self-cherishing, I know. When giving teachings to others, you can learn more, better. But sometimes it's so good so that it's a kind of heart to heart, like sharing it from experience to you. So that's sometimes I feel this kind of quality I feel. Nothing much more. So the teaching that we will be talking, that we will be doing next, I think, until the 15th to 20, is that right? It will be the guide to Bodhisattva's way of life, and I don't think the whole thing, but we will see what most important parts and we discuss. So actually, I would like to present this kind of class as more like to discuss, not like I'm going to give a teaching and then I finish my job. Not like this. I will say, and every time when people want to pause me and have a question, you're most welcome to do that. And then I chose the three principal aspects of the path by Lama Tsongkhapa because this is my daily practice. I do this whenever I do my sadhana commitments. And then when you feel like kind of lost in your sadhana and or the commitments, you feel like, oh, I need to do it again. And then you feel like I put my sadhana aside and bring this in front of me. And then to go through I memorized it by heart. So slowly I do it. And it gives my a strong motivation to continue my commitments. So it's more not like you are doing the commitment by like pressure, and you are doing by your own kind of a wish, and so that's more healthy. So then what else? Oh, the 9th chapter. The 9th chapter of the Shantideva's text is incredible. So we won't cover everything in this visit. So, but we will go through some main parts. So then we will have plenty of time to discuss about it. This will be the overview of what we are going to do next 6 days. You understand whatever I said? Okay, so far so good. Okay. So if you didn't understand, then I can speak in Tibetan, and then Galila will help me. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So far I made it. And I can see some of my students there. So I don't know. It's late in India, isn't it? Somewhere in India. Oh my goodness! It's early morning or something. Okay. Anyway, good to see you all there. Oh, Simon is there. Okay. Okay. So these people know that I gave the Way of Bodhisattva's life class. So now it's kind of like on almost this is the 5th year that we are still on the chapter 7th or 8th. So I'm going very slow, and then somehow in New York, in this center, I'm going to do the 9th chapter. Maybe you people are jealous a little bit. Just saying. So the Shantideva, the great master, we heard lots of great qualities from his teaching, for sure. But one of the remarkable, like a teaching which is his own practice, it's like he's like a kind of like a baby ninja, like
concealed yoga practitioner. Concealed yoga.
Concealed,
yeah, hidden yoga.
If we know like this much, we'll just go like this. But Shantideva, like he has this way of Bodhisattva's life, and the
compendium of a training by Shantideva, a major text.
The
compendium of sutras.
Compendium of sutra. So even he has the teaching within him, which he haven't spoken or written. Then he kind of act like very kind of I don't know, we call normal or like he will not show off. So then many people know this story because when people in the time of Nalanda, when how the Shantideva taught way of Bodhisattva's life was like some of his colleagues or staffs, or I don't know, in the Nalanda time, they wanted to make a fun of Shantideva. So because he will just not do much work, or he will just eat and sleep, and the third one, so he is only known for these three things, and then they just wanted to say like, let's make fun of him, just let him teach. So when the time was right, then he didn't just like say, I don't know nothing. Then when the time was right, then he gave the solid teaching that up to now, from the 7th century until now, this is the hard practice of the Mahayana lineage. So just thinking about that, I think it's such a great teaching. So knowing so much and having this kind of sort of practice within you, how come you still can act so normal, all like the great Chakava in the 7 points of mind training. In there it says, maybe Gili should help me here. Tanda Tiruakasore Lojun Tunduma Naloya and Dumba Jula Ramsor Shark Sech. Dirwa Dumba Jula Ramsor Shark Seki Labjeti Tangun Kadambega Lama Mangu Nanguyore Tenayadi Tatanda Kesishwala.
So in the 7-point mind training, Geshe Chekawa, one of the points was while we do internal transformation, while the external appearances we don't change, and so many working internally, including your views, attitude, and so on, but maintain the outlook in the same way. And so this has been the major advice in the mind training tradition, and Shantideva seems like really practicing that.
Because now just let us discuss a little bit about this, because this looks quite important, because how he kept very secretly, kind of reserved, how he kept this, is I think in the our Tibetan traditional way. We used to say, even that, but then you don't, you say like, no, I don't know. We have that, right? And then many Tibetan people don't know the real meaning, what is there. And then especially in the West, if you know a little bit and then you said you don't know, people take it very seriously, like, he doesn't know, he said it. But this teaching somehow got a strong influence in the Kadambas, and then Kadamba mostly in the Tibet. So how this blessing comes through. So this, I think, in order to bring down your own pride, sometimes we mistake the confidence and then a pride. So then pride is something like you just want to know like this, like my English, like this, and then from inside you feel like so big and you wanted to present it. Somehow it's very small, not really beneficial. That's just more like people go like, oh, he's good. And you feel like, yeah. So somehow it becomes kind of like your own kind of attitude or kind of personality. And then this becomes one of the number one to this kind of pride becomes number one to get it to the next level, or to get a much better understanding. And because once the ego builds up, and then the great masters are saying, once you have the ego which is so big, and then how much you because of ngarjeji kumbula how you translate.
So an expression saying, when you have a planet of a pride, then it would not contain water.
Mhm. So it's more the understanding of the planet. It's more like
Globe shape.
yeah, the glow shape, and which the water will not absorb, so it will just waste of the water. Like when we talk about three
The three-fourths of the vessel.
So this is the one, I think, upside down. This is the one. And this we really need to check. How does this really harm us to become a better person? And this we really need to give have some kind of some experience for your own good. Like if you feel like what you just know is just this much, and then how you are so hungry, so craving to get more, to know much, this is also translated as a faith. So if this craving doesn't come out and you feel like, yeah, I know, and maybe there is somebody who's much better than you in front of you, what really blocks you to understand other people's knowledge is you kind of get cut off from the having respect to the others. You don't want to wish to cut something like that, but how it becomes is you have already built a strong kind of a solid boundary in front of you. This is not other than your ego. So that's why I think the Tibetans, when they know this a little bit, and they just I don't know, I'm so stupid, stupid. So some the Westerners don't understand like why he's saying like this. So not only that, the great masters, this is how they are doing. So this is what I'm thinking. This is how I wanted to connect. And then now, why Shantideva is so great? Not only this, how he present this way of teaching in India, how his teachings or practice is as His Holiness Dalai Lama always says, we should study like how once it's taught in Nalinda. We should. This is the one of the world's, I think, the first university. Some says Takshashila is the one, the first one, and the Nalinda second. I don't know much about this history, but anyway, it is first of its kind, the university. So university means not other than the way of learning the teachings. 제 생각은 좀 Nalinda 나로야 아니 가지가봐. 여발 가지가봐. 롱루샤바. 저봐봐스. 제가 가지 마가 응연라 배중하고 내바다 하고 그치? 아니 되네 수수랑기 있는 내바딜 아니 냥에 내바디인스. 때 저랑기 라바디 니도시지 저랑도 켈레나 견디도스. 앵이게 쉐베들이 연된디유스. 아니 네 쉐베들라 저랑이 견딘데 당셔죠 다셔죠디 대견도 영상에도 없이. 디스도 좀be 당한 좀 손에 알아서 냠내 제발 객 치셔도데 다 그래서 우리 태솜들에도 와 지디 안디 매버스엘 다 고문 가주 잡 주번 냠내 가주 치셔비나 태솜 세야딕 배정하고 있지. 대인도 좀be 태솜 직세발라 아니 다 지기 나른데 주주듯이 샤베토는 로베이나 아니 맞아 맞으네 산지기 취了아주 맞으나 ཉལ 팀마지가 엔테네 컬러 좋아지니 아니 신에 아니 지금 팬더 너세디 하고 요즘 아니 정보로 제게 날린데 주주스다 되는 거상배 그뒤에 송고에 대인서리스.
So in the Nalanda tradition, the tradition is basically a way of learning in which they go through 3 different stages or process of learning. First, really negating and objecting the others in the view, and then second, developing and establishing your own system of a belief based on reason, and then you clear the argument by establishing the reasons and the basis that reach to your conclusion, saying that I come to this conclusion based on this reason and the fact. So this is very useful, I think, for the practitioners and to really develop a very clear, reasonable, and recent knowledge. This is for practitioners. One of our major obstacles is the doubt. And when you have this doubt, the contemplation, and just like a meditation on single-pointed things would not really solve the doubt, but really to clear the doubt. And if you rely this Nalanda tradition of investigating the knowledge, examining, and through that, then you really start getting close to the Buddha's teaching, and you start really smelling the essence of the teaching. You start really tasting, the essence of this teaching, and through that, then you can come to a very strong ground. And therefore, for these reasons, His Holiness is often talking about the benefit and the qualities of the Nalanda tradition, meaning the way of learning.
So here, when I saying debating, it doesn't mean you have to go and look for an opponent, and then you don't need to be always very annoying to the other people. It is more to debate with yourself, because if you can investigate yourself, and then so many things will come up, like, and then there are so many times that I get lots of questions from students time to time, and I have some kind of friends and students who can answer by their own kind of way of this researching. So that's beautiful. This is really helpful. That's how Buddha said, you are your own protector. So that doesn't mean that you need to go, whenever you have a doubt, you knock on teacher's door. And then you say, I have a question. Can I make an appointment? How many times are you going to do that? So that's very important. Like, you train your mind very strongly, that the faith of yours becomes so solid by investigating, analyzing, and then when it becomes like so solid. And then if somebody says, I don't agree with you, I don't know what you're up to, or maybe people might say, I don't believe in past and future life. And some people say, I don't believe in Buddha. Okay, and people might come to say so many things that when you kind of unpleasant to you hear, when you are like so having much faith towards three jewels, and then somebody comes up this kind of thing. If you are not ready, or if you haven't done any kind of good homework or research, what will become to you is angry. And then you feel like you hold on to your thought. Don't you dare to say such things to me. And he is harming my practice or belief. Ultimately, this will come up. But if you have a kind of power enough within yourself to that you know why you are believing and what are the benefits believing in three jewels and in taking part of this kind of a practice, if somebody says like something that really disturbing, then automatically what will come up is compassion. It's like, I feel something that he has never felt. I have seen something that he has never seen in his life. And now I feel so like a pretty that he is making a decision so quickly. For that reason, I feel so sorry for him, or I feel so compassionate towards him. That's a real compassion we are talking about. Because normally in a Tibetan, we have a compassion. We say, Ningje, Ningje, Ningje. It's more like, oh, poor thing, poor thing, poor thing. We sometimes understand like, this is a compassion. No way, this is a compassion. Why I'm saying this? This is more like you feel disgust. Like when you see a dog with lots of fleas, in America, it's rare to say. In India, we have a lot. So that when you see this, then people sometimes feel like, oh, so poor thing. can we accept this as a compassion? It can be, we can say it comes out when you have a seed of compassion, that it is the one way, but I don't call it a qualified compassion, because it comes out with like you feel disgust. Why I am strongly saying this is because one time His Holiness Dalai Lama said very clearly that he said, compassion is not a question. Compassion is answer. It needs to be answer. So then I felt like, wow, that's so good. Because many people felt like, well, when you feel like, oh, wish I can help, wish I can do, all this sort of thing makes you weak. Like one time, what really happened in Canada when I was studying, in the big thing, like a tragedy happened in Nepal. The big earthquake happened. Many people lost, like in the Morocco, what happened recently. So our teacher was giving this news and said like, many people lost life and feel so sorry. But now we have to move on. We need to cover up so many things today. So we wrap it up, and I don't have any time to think about other people's suffering, because I have my own sufferings to handle with, which I cannot handle it. I don't have any room for other people's suffering. That's what this is how she entered her conversation. And I feel like I feel like I am the only one in the audience feeling like, that's so rude, that's so mean. I was like, but I couldn't say anything because it sounds true. Because this become incomplete because it's just a question. So now the answer part. Once you feel like there's an answer to that, and then when you feel like this happened for this reason, now wish I can do in this kind of way. So this is the only way to help others. So now this is where I think our meeting, this class, is needed. Every people loves compassion. I don't think there is in this world, there is one person says like, I hate compassion. So, but there will be many people, compassion is so hard. There are so many people might say like, I will raise my hand. It is. But compassion is something, I think it can, if you turn the compassion thing towards yourself, then it's not other than the renunciation. And if you just focus this compassion thing towards others, that's the compassion what we are talking about. So, but then without having the real antidote, if you don't feel this answer has to do something with this, then we will always left out with some kind of a big question mark. And we don't like question. Why we ask question is we wanted to answer, because we love answer. Did you raise hand? Yeah, please.
Rinpoche, while we're talking about compassion, I guess this word pity, when you use the example of the dog with the fleas in India, you look at it and you say, oh gosh, poor thing. There is that you can either, is that compassion or is that pity, that moment when you look at the dog? Because is compassion about taking action? So if you can just talk a little bit about pity when you look at something, or is that actual compassion, or where does that difference lie?
So let's say it's a compassion. Okay, for the moment we can say it's a compassion. Then, what will you do if you see one dog and you try to help? And then in India, you are now going there a round trip. And then maybe after helping like 30, 40 dogs, like this same situation, and then slowly, slowly you will feel helpless, won't you? That's the same thing. The whole humanity and everything. Now with this such a different kind of antidote or hope, otherwise we will feel hopeless for sure. But here goes, there is another good example, which is His Holiness Dalai Lama himself. He never gives up. He never gives up on anybody. He would just go like, he never gives up on like Tibetan people. He never gives up on the whole world. He's always saying like, stop the war and this fighting and war is something like outdated. Who say the war is outdated? So he's the only one having the greatest hope. Why this hope comes? He only watches. He has a television. He only watches the news, and he reads newspaper. And any kind of news happens, the private office staff has to deliver the message to him. So he knows how the world is facing and going. We are here like almost like not much hope now. But here there is His Holiness Dalai Lama, never gives up. So what are his strength? So like almost now the scientists are giving up on the world. They're saying like world, there's no more global warming. Boiling has started. That's what they're saying. So now we can see so many huge, starting from Himalayas. Now you can see climate change. But anyway, to make the story short, I think it is necessary that compassion with action is needed for sure. But what kind of motivation are you going to set to not to give up? And also the action is the same. Whatever you generate great compassion or a bodhicitta, action is the sixth perfection. That's the action, it comes after that. But the most important, you need to set a strongest one motivation that whole world gives up, but you are not the one who will give up. So what is the secret behind this? So for that, we need to meet again tomorrow. This is a good teaser. Just kidding. Okay. Right on time. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Right? Yeah. 9 o'clock. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. 9 o'clock then. Okay. I thought like it's so like until 8:30. Okay. So now, so do you want me to continue with the little bit of that? Okay. So now let's learn it from the great Chantikirti. Chantikirti is in his one of texts, the entering to the middle way. In there, he said, many great beings, when they write a text or scriptures, they make a homage to the great beings like Buddha and Bodhisattvas, and then so on. And sometimes the Manjushri and the deities there. But he said, this time I will make prostrations not other than the compassion. That's how he started. And how he continues this with the compassion, it is so beautiful, because in there he talks about 3 types of compassion. And then I think Kelila has to help me with that. Chezanga Ningji Sum Song du Sambe, and was Simjan Samlami Ningjis. Simjan Samlami Ningjis on du Sambe. So, and it's mi wall yard, Simjan Tamchi Tsuke Yon, and Tada Dunye the Tana, Chimaru, Yambegi, somebody, any Yang, Tachi, Monsieur Big loss on Jejuch. Didn't Dunye Tana Chimaru, Yambe Logic, on the Sambe. Any did you Dunye the Trava, did Dunye the Trava, the Yegi Chetuna, Yetelagic Chem Tuna, Savieti, Yang, and that Hassam than Delgi, Gomiandela, any Simjan Tamam Ninjas. Till a Ninji Chimbugi, Ming Tawa the Mount of Nigai Puto. That daily young Inji Chimbus Lavina, Yanko Hassamki, the Vedabji, Shecho de, in a deal Simjan Tamlami Ninjas, Sigorba. And he had teachers on that.
In Chandrakirti's entering the middle way, where he was making homage, he basically made a homage to the compassion. And the Chandrakirti divides the compassion into 3 types. The first one is a compassion aimed merely at the sentient beings, or the compassion aimed at the sentient beings, and in which the essential really the practices is have this incredibly strong desire to free the sentient being from the suffering, saying, I wish all the sentient beings be free from suffering, and then have the aspiration, it would be incredibly wonderful if they are free of suffering. And then you add saying, if I can do that, if I can free all sentient beings from the suffering. So that's become the aspiration and motivation. So the different scholars, discuss these, and some scholars say this is great compassion because aimed at all the sentient beings with aspiration. Some just say this is a compassion aimed at the sentient beings. In either way, the essential quality in that is have this kind of aspiration. What if I can do that?
제장 같으니 니버드 철미비 닝지스. 철미비 닝지스 온도 전배 따띠เป็ 내가 심부시비치. 그 연수도 심진들 동연도 슬라마이 비체. 심진디 동이 용단디 가발도는 쓰나? 아니 시응업이 니수디 베나 따와 마임발라 따버지. 대와 마임발라 대와지. 아니 저기 시디 동해와 임발라 동해와 임마 어마신지 다 도르드나 시 니주디 야와 마신베지 안 텔레 때네 로추바티기 제소 장베 요모도 스케원체 아니 단다 동해 계단데도 스톤도 전베 딘지기 닝지 계단데라 셜미미니스.
And then the second type of compassion is a compassion based on Dharma. I'm just doing a direct translation, make it more accessible. Compassion based on Dharma, in which really investigating where this problem coming from, and you're reaching to a conclusion that the sentient beings have the mistaken view or the perverted view, which really give them some kind of the wrong, understanding. And they start seeing the experiences, as a suffering, but they see it as, pleasure. They're not able to distinguish between the causes of the suffering and the causes of the free suffering. And in essence, they are confused. the state of the mind. Through that, they are miscomprehending the reality or the situation. As a result, they keep falling in the trap of suffering. And so thinking these kind of different stage of the causes and the consequences of the confusion state. So that's described as a compassion aimed at the Dharma or compassion basis on Dharma or teaching.
다테네 진지기 첼레비비 닝지디스 라비오잠베 아니 조디 미다바트 차고레 미다비기 니루디 미심 마심바체치 딱바르진지 딱바르진바 텔레테네도 소녀몬 다도 두바진바 당진지 다낭 란주기 아니 최기 다음에 라바세 계제시여 용약이 상무당서 지직디 디르도아 다 딜레 디즈웃 가반의 리그도 슬라베이나 아니 단토토스 레벨 마소네 지 토르지 땅베이나 딘지 용사디 아니 딜레 딱버진베 당진기 로제네리 아니 가리 다도 좀베 당진기 로 아니 라바도 좀 가반의 리그도 스두잠베 아니 조디 최기 당진 참마티 최기 당진 참면 스두다 베 아니 란주기 냠낸 가르치에베 있나야 지기 베나 다디 슈르슈나틱도 베나 다 디주 정말로 자와 용사디 거바르스 쳤으나 아니 란주기 세디베 랑신 유튜브 템보슈 지니베 기딜야도 진디야티 딜레테니 아니 란주기다 지게 차다몬솜 당신 라고도 제가 정말 깨워야돼 당신 처음들이 기도 시다 저상가 딜라야 다 닝지 수바티 밍멜미 치스
So when we talk about the compassion, on the basis of Dharma, one of the things that the sentient beings do is they're mistaking the view, and they see the nature of the impermanent as a permanent. They see the selflessness of the person as a self-containing person. So basically, they have this perverted understanding about the reality. And so when you investigate where this is really coming from, this perverted view of the reality, so they call these perverted views, the mistaken views, or the confused state of the mind. And then you do further investigate and say, where does this come from? And then this really comes from this very subtle, initially, as they experience this perverted view of the reality, and which you try to investigate, and it comes through the kind of a gross level of the self-grasping mind. Obviously you're holding this solid permanent self, and that manifests all this perverted view. And then Chandikirti discusses about the third type of the compassion, which is the aimless compassion, or the objectless compassion, in which Chandikirti is saying these perverted views of the sentient beings, which lead them to suffering, comes from this very subtle confused or the perverted view of the self. The sentient beings hold this like a self-grasping mind, in which they habitually seeing a solidifying self, and that's manifesting all these mistaken views about reality, including seeing things as a permanent, seeing things as a self-solidifying attitude, and so on. And so the third type of the compassion of the objectless or something like that, really discuss this very subtle nature of how things exist, and which is the opposite of what the sentient beings right now seeing.
Yeah.
The question from the chat from B, she says, taking as examples the earthquake in Morocco and the flood in Libya, what would be a compassionate response?
what will be
Respond.
response
And
to
then
that?
get up here to land to give the land condition can be having us.
So maybe the best thing what we will do is go there and help as if you can, and to contribute some kind of donation, and this is like how we do it. So that is the act of compassion for sure. But then does this kind of gives you kind of a relief to yourself? So then it's more like, it is more to like to kind of participate and to show that how much you care, to show this is good enough. But then other than that, we can do much, can we? So that somehow ends the one of the highest takasure jigdingi tone ani ta che yuna mena pigeliya pro jigi susugi mi ji kyame ba gwe ma ba ta ji kanyi ma gu chenye zola sadong lo so ba da ji da mengang ro ni ti che lo so ba ro che ta ji ro ba la 근데네 지금 의유를 주야비는 의유기 신대비할 소고지마도 아주 다 전부링기 삼로 땅땅 normal 삼로땅은 되리스다. 땅 아주 단도 추적도 삼로땅이 되전배 아니 더 거지기다. 아니 단도양 내가 만족한데 다 단도 가르쳐요 되전배 다 된지 동해지 냥 먹어야 돼 가르쳐도 다 로니 동합예군도 산지 좀 된디 아니 다 디레 가르소래 산지 좀 된디기다 다 최케멜랭에는 디우리 손으로지래 최nghi엘 켈랭에 손으로지나 다시네 탈아줘야 되겠지래요.
So in our kind of a common sense responses to these tragedies is either you participate in rescuing or doing charity works, making donation, donating food. So that's kind of the normal reaction to these tragedies, and it's limited pretty much. So from a Dharma practitioner's point of view, these responses are not really enough. We go much beyond because primarily it doesn't solve the causes of the suffering. We are just like providing some remedies, but really we are not handling the causes of the suffering. And that, the answer goes back to 2,500 years ago, Buddha Shakyamuni. And he really goes much deeper than kind of a reaction to the suffering. And he started investigating, saying, if you truly wanted to be free of these tragedies, you really have to start working toward attaining liberation. So that would be kind of the Buddha's responses to
that. So that means like when we talk about compassion, 3 types of compassion, we talk about all the sentient beings, and then you feel like, what I have to do with sentient beings, right? And so in order to do that, first you have to feel like I have something to do, something to give, something that I can I don't know how to say this. 제장을 심진리야 아니 된 제토에 주서 통고로 봤어.
So the important thing here is you really have to look at the situation, and then you have to find that you are in a position to do something.
For that, I think it is necessary. First, you need to feel yourself. That antidote is really working on you or not. Now you are becoming the real kind of a person who makes a medicine. That first you need to check whether this experiment or this kind of investigation is really working. That scientists, sometimes we use rats and frogs to carry on the experiment. No, in the before, now these days they're saying they don't do much on animals. But hold on. And then so now in order to you on yourself, first then you really need to know how our negative emotions are working. And then finally, if you come to kind of make this suffering comes from this way of mistaken mind, and then automatically question arises, how does this mistaken mind become a mistake? And then automatically we come to know we start talking about true truths. So, and then when we come to know about how this reality is working, how the true truth is working, then automatically you feel like, well, this looking is the correct way. If we think like this, then we don't need to deal with the suffering anymore, because no negative emotions will arise from this. So then automatically you will feel confident, because then you can feel it. You can have this feeling, but no attachment, no clinging, and no aversion. If there's no attachment, no aversion. And then you can do all the activities so peacefully. Then once you feel like, what, this is how it is working on me, then you feel like, well, wish all other people who's going through this kind of problem, can I do this work? Yes, definitely. I don't wait for Buddhas to appear in front of each and everybody and go in front of them to the sentient being. I'm going to do it. So this becomes the lasam, the expression. Sometimes my pronunciation is so bad.
No.
Because like one time what really happened, I was giving a kind of some of my friends here knows what I'm going to talk about. They were already laughing. So one time in the cafe, we were talking about emptiness and dependent and origination and arising and so on. And then we kind of finish the discussion, and then there's one elderly lady just came and said like, what is something to Tibetan uprising has to do with the emptiness? And so I didn't say Tibetan uprising, and entire time she heard dependent arising as a Tibetan uprising. Yeah, you have a question. Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Rinpoche, for the teaching, great teaching. You just mentioned there are three type of compassion. I was wondering, is that three level of practitioners feeling of that way, or it can happen the same time you have three kinds of compassion, or once you practice certain level, you feel certain type of compassion? I'm a little confused what those three compassion was.
This when we talk maybe tomorrow or day after. So it will become a little bit more clear, I guess. I think we can say it comes to the if we take by step. So first you have kind of a give it
So right now, you really looking at as a process of developing the compassion, a stage of development of compassion.
Three stage.
Oh,
yeah.
Three kind of.
Yeah. Not only 3 stages, but if you just go through the your experience, what will come up first and second and third will be like this. But when you try to in education way to investigate, what will really help you if you go through like through having a good understanding of emptiness, then you will know more clear about how this命名了比应激的过了些问题咱别东北人给那当的也会查过用而且东北人给那当的也会去看的咱别你心里大面了话当没大当真的就肯定是几个月没的第了点呢还快突有且第了点呢你大培训也给应激当的甚至这么多事对咱别他们这个刚做开始了 ordinary 应激的他也也做也去多啊什么呢
So these 3 types of compassion, you can, we will talk more about this tomorrow. So for example, when you look at the objectionless compassion or the aimless compassion, in which really you gain a deep understanding about the emptiness and how phenomena exist, dependent arising and so on. And when you get a good like understanding about the third one, and then this will help you to better understand about the next the compassion, which is really the compassion on basis of Dharma, in which you see how this nature of the selflessness, right, would help for the sentient beings to clarify their confusion about this holding onto permanent and self. And so when you have a better understanding of that, then you look at the sentient beings saying, there is a solution for that. The condition of the sentient beings, what they're really experiencing now, there's a solution for that. If they understand the proper Dharma, understand properly how things exist through understanding the emptiness, then there's a solution for them to free themselves from the samsara. So each of these types of compassion really help you to get a better understanding about the next, the type of the compassion, and ultimately it helps you to better understand the true condition of the sentient being, where there is a solution to really end all these sufferings in samsara.
Great. Thank you so much.
Oh, most welcome. I know. You're really confusing for some of you, like who is maybe kind of new to the these 3 types of compassion, and then people when they are new to, especially to the Mahayana, the school. So when we talk like all the sentient beings, sometimes you feel like, how can we do that? How is that possible? So for this reason, before generating bodhicitta, it is necessary to look into the renunciation, more to look for, can I get the liberation? Can I get liberated from the suffering or not? This way of investigation becomes so important. So that's why I chose the three principal aspects of the path. So time to time, when we go through the text of the Shantideva, then I will remind you, this we have to bring back to the renunciation and to the bodhicitta and to the emptiness. Way of this teaching is always given by my kind teacher. So he says, like, everybody's thinking, there's so much to learn. There's so many things in this world. And if you talk about Tibetan Buddhism, particularly Tibetan Buddhism, you have so many texts. Like, you cannot kind of finish in this life. So how are you going to, whatever you have studied, like people who studied a lot, how are you going to make like very simple for you? Like in the category, how all the studies, it goes into one, like a different boxes. And then Lama Tsongkhapa said, let's do 3 boxes. 3 types of boxes we have here. First is renunciation, second is the bodhicitta, and the third is the emptiness. So everything what we practice in Buddhism, we need to put in these 3. That includes Tantra also. So if you can do this, so you will never get lost. You will never get lost on the track. So then you are in a kind of a safe way. Otherwise, there are so many practitioners like saying, before I used to practice this, now I'm practicing that. And then maybe a few years later, they will say, I'm practicing this one because it sounds much better. But then what it comes to the categories, he doesn't know where it belongs. So that's why my teacher always follows like these 3 categories. So this is why I think this is a very okay, what we sometimes we say catalog, or sometimes we can say user manual, then guidelines. This is really good. And the beautiful is all the 4 schools of Tibetan Buddhism use these techniques. So it will be good. So I think we stop here today, and then tomorrow what time you start? 10:30. No, 10:30. So I will see you all at 10:30. So then people who really wanted to study or to participate in this beautiful event, I think it is same as normal as when you go to class, take part of the university education. So like it's like university level, nobody will push you or ask you. It's your own choice if you want to answer it or not. But you go home, you learn more, you will come to know better. And then the good thing is, if you wanted to make like your professor to have a more difficult, you want to make him difficult, then you need to study and do lots of research, and then you can show off at university. That's how we do it, isn't it? So same thing. So tomorrow, if you want to make me to answer kind of difficult, and you want to show off, you need to go back and reflect on what I said. But the good thing is, you don't need to feel like, can I say this or not? You don't need to. Your question is kind of all the questions are welcome here. So then we can have, but keep this in your mind. Like in the university, you don't have this motivation, whether this question will bring some benefit to others or not. But keep this in your mind. Tomorrow, it will be very good if you have some kind of questions, like you should really think, if I ask this question, maybe this will bring lots of benefit to others too. So then you are doing an amazing job. So please keep this in your mind, and thank you so much for your paying attention. Thank you. And now let's do dedication.
Yes, we'll start actually with the long life prayer, if that's okay, Rinpoche. Yes. Thank you. So this is page 14 of the standard prayer book. And for the mobile version, it is page 27. Om Swasti, may all be auspicious. O charming lady of 7 eyes, supreme mother of the triumphant, exceptional deity skilled in bringing a great rain to fall of the actual attainments of deathless long life, positive potential, and deep awareness, please grant here and now the utmost in fulfilling the aims of my prayers. By the force of your matchless dedicated heart to uphold the teachings, may you live a long life to further the essence of the deep and extensive guidelines that the Able One taught. As a Lord wielding power over the ocean of reason and speech, as a lamp for the teachings of the excellent-minded, for the sake of leading to a state of peerless enduring bliss, all wandering beings oppressed through the bondage to their compulsions and disturbing minds may live a long life, fulfilling all infinite hopes through the extensive deeds of your stainless 3 enigmatic gates. May your dedicated heart once more reach out to strive in serving the triumphant One's teachings through your 3 pure rounds. I request you long to remain as a guiding light for wandering beings in accord with your will in the lands of disciples in every direction. By the power, the inspiration from the hosts of lamas, deities, and protectors, by the force of the truth of non-fallacious dependent arising, by the strength of regard from the exceptional resolve of myself and others, may all the aims of my prayers be exactly and fully fulfilled.
Tsenshap Serkong Rinpoche, Maje Panam Jejochi, Keba Nyamba, One Gondo Bebara Sho, Kangri Rabe Korbe Shingamde, Pendandewa Madu, Jire Suwan Tinjin Jazoye, Shape Sete Pado Tengyo Chi, Kewa Kundu Yanda Lama Tang, Jeme Chuji Bela Longju, Sada Lamje Yönden Rabzonen, Dorji Changi Koban Yorto. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good night. Sweet dreams.